The SEC and the Big Ten have made their move. They are close on an agreement on a scheduling alliance that would shut out the G5 and essentially shut out the Big 12 and the ACC. I am told that there are conversations happening with TV partners right now. ESPN, according to my sources in television, has pushed back a little bit on the scheduling alliance with Greg Sankey because obviously ESPN, who is the premier partner of the SEC for TV distribution, also has that little league known as the Big 12 and the ACC. And I wholeheartedly understand why ESPN's a little concerned about stepping on top of their partners to help the SEC and the Big Ten eliminate competition. And I think this is where we find out who really runs things in college football. Is it the TV money or is it Greg Sankey? Because if Greg Sankey has his way, G5s will no longer be a thing on the Big Ten and the SEC schedule, and they will play each other a minimum of 10 times a year. And they are allegedly leaving room for significant games, high-profile games with P4 members. But they will under no circumstances agree to have G5 opponents on their schedule, essentially starting this brick wall being built between the haves and the have-nots of college football. And I think this is actually very bad for the Big Ten and the SEC. I think this is a mistake. And the reasons I think it's a mistake is because when you insulate yourself, you have far less room for error. And while it is true that the Big Ten and the SEC control 60% of the revenue in the college football playoff and overwhelmingly control who plays what and where and when in the college football playoff, they make the final decision about how many AQs each conference gets and how those are doled out. Yeah, the Big Ten and the SEC have the majority of the say in those bigger decisions. You can't alienate the other people that you're supposedly in business with. And at some point, this isolationism, this move to cash grab and power grab as much from your P4 partners as possible, Jake, I just think the unforeseen consequences of a move like this are going to come back and get the Big Ten and the SEC.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree that there's definitely risk in it, 100%. And I think that the Big Ten and the SEC are in a position where they probably feel like, you know, that risk or that exposure is worth it if they can create more big time matchups and create more big time television numbers. I mean, you know, look no further than Ohio State and Oregon at 10 million plus views. And I think that, you know, if you're the SEC and the Big Ten, you know, you've already been talking about, you know, basically rigging is the wrong word, but basically fixing the playoff to make it so that 4 teams from each conference gets in every single year, right? 4 from the Big Ten, 4 from the SEC. So when I saw this come down and finally, you know, become, you know, official and everything, I look at it and I say, hey, they're just simply saying, hey, we're going to load up the college football playoff. Then to get there, we're only going to play each other and we're going to try and create a schedule that has as many, you know, Big Ten Saturday night games included in it, those style of matchups, so we can make as much money as possible. And I feel like they're doing this because of all this NIL stuff. It's like the Chris Del Conte, Texas situation yesterday with that email we showed you guys. Like, people are feeling the pressure of, hey, we got to make as much money as possible. We got to control as much as we can. And yes, we're going to take the risk of shutting out the G5 in an effort to ensure our future financially. And what I mean by ensure your future financially, I don't just mean, hey, let's make sure our football program is still able to strap on the pads and still able to go play the game. That's not what I mean. What I mean is, let's make sure that our profit margin is the same 10 years from now or better than it is here today, even with the added $30-40 million in cost that the NIL settlement brings. So to me, I see this as the Big Ten and the SEC, yes, to your point, taking risk, but also They're just saying, hey, we're going to do everything we can to secure our control over our future, and we're willing to take those risks to do that.
Well, I think you risk alienating ESPN and ABC, which is a huge mistake. I mean, that is by far the number one streaming partner in all of professional and college sports. Obviously, right now, TV distribution, ABC and ESPN, that's the behemoth. And you look at the volume of viewership that comes through ABC and ESPN and Disney and all their platforms, it's a mistake to alienate them. And I think that's the biggest question. Will ESPN get on board with this idea of isolationism from the Big Ten and the SEC? And I don't see how they can, because you look at the ACC, Florida State and Clemson. Are you really telling me we're not going to get a Georgia, Bama, Clemson, Florida State? You look at the Miami Hurricanes. Are you really telling me if Mario Cristobal truly restores the glory at Miami football at the U, are you really telling me that we're not going to get Miami and Notre Dame? Are you really telling me we're not going to get made for TV massive games with, I don't know, anybody in the Big 12 and the ACC and anybody in the Big 10 and the SEC? Are you really telling me that USC and Notre Dame are not going to play every year? Are you really telling me that we're never going to see Notre Dame and Michigan again?
Well, what I'm curious about, I agree with that. I mean, this term of isolationism, like, these two only playing each other. Yeah, I mean, you're talking about cutting out a lot of those big games, but I think one of the pieces that maybe is not quite defined yet is okay, if we're going to play each other 10 times a year, and then we're going to have these 2 open weeks to create matchups, is it still possible to from Michigan's side of it, let's say, or Notre Dame's side of it, or whoever's side of it, to have the flexibility to schedule for those 2 weeks? Because when you build a schedule and 10 of your weeks are only SEC and Big Ten games, you're telling the other side, hey, we can only fit you in here. So are you willing to play us in those 2 weeks? And I think
they would be.
Yeah.
I think that's where you're talking about pulling a lever and having leverage over the rest of college football. Hey, you need to play us, and it's going to be in these 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I think there's no question that makes sense to me. It eliminates the G5 from P4 schedules, which I think you absolutely, if you are the G5, you have to do that, in my opinion. You have to, in my opinion, stop playing the P4.
Why do you say that?
Because it's good for everybody. I think if you are a G5 team, you have to get used to the fact that you're not going to have a seat at the table after 2026, in my opinion. I think you are watching these two titans of college sports in the Big Ten and the SEC. I think you are watching Tony Petitti and Greg Sankey, the commissioners of those leagues, posturing and getting ready to remake college football in 2026. You notice how many TV deals are up in 2026.
Yeah.
You notice what, like we've talked all about the Mountain West. The Mountain West with this new deal with TNT, and that ends in 2026. You look at the Pac-12. You look at all the realignment in the G5. So it's going to happen in 2026.
Yeah, people are getting in line, no doubt about it.
I believe that the Big Ten and the SEC, from what I've heard, and I've heard a lot of it from TV people, all of this is posturing to set up what is next in college football for the Big Ten and the SEC. And if that includes the Big 12 and the ACC, great. The question is, where does the Super League come into play here? And what is it that Greg Sankey wants that he has not heard from these Super League proposals? Because I don't think there's any question. I haven't found anybody who thinks that Tony Petitti and Greg Sankey are lock, stock, and barrel against any form of a Super League. Nobody is saying that. They haven't heard what they want to hear yet.
Right.
And my guess is they want to eliminate the G5. They want to have more control for their universities. And I think the biggest question is what happens to the rest of college sports with that Super League?
Yeah,
I think
that
that's the
word,
biggest question.
that word control, I think, is the most important word in the conversation, because this whole concept of posturing right now for 2026 and then obviously into the Super League, I think is spot on. I mean, again, it's what, and I know we've played it a million times, but the reason we play it so much, this Greg Sankey clip about, hey, we're not going to water down the SEC, that piece of the conversation is the core factor in any decision for Greg Sankey. Whether it's this scheduling alliance with the Big Ten, whether it's the college football playoff and getting 4 teams in guaranteed every year, or it's the Super League. We don't want to wash down SEC football with bad G5 matchups or anything else. So when we talk about why do they keep saying, well, we haven't heard what we want to hear yet. We haven't seen a proposal that excites us or that we want to jump all over yet. Well, all that is just saying, hey, we haven't seen a proposal that allows us to keep control and keep us in the driver's seat while also making us more money.
And I think what we've seen over the last year that's made something like, because remember, if you wind back the clocks a year, you remember it just wasn't feasible to isolate yourself if you were the SEC and the Big Ten.
Yeah.
That was not that you didn't have, in my opinion, the power structure. You didn't have a new college football playoff agreement. You didn't have a new college football financial agreement in place. You didn't have your influence and your control of the college football playoff the way you do now. So now all these dominoes have kind of fallen into place, and really you've knocked them all over in the direction you wanted them to go. And now you're in a position where you can control your schedule. And Greg Sankey is a guy who has consistently talked about, we need to play 9 or 10 conference games. We need to stop playing the G5 November game.
Yeah.
Because he recognizes what we've always talked about on this show, that winning big games late in the season, while very dangerous, that's how you cement yourself in the college football playoff.
It's how you make money.
It is what is great about the SEC, that we get Georgia, Bama twice a year and once in the conference championship game. It's what makes the SEC great. We love big games. But now, if you eliminate the G5 from your schedule, which again, I am all in favor of, and I believe it is imperative, I think it makes you more money. It gives you bigger blockbuster games early in the season. Who likes week 0?
Nobody.
Nobody likes week 0. But if you now have made for TV matchups in week 0, and I am getting the best, there's been a lot of talk about having all the P4 conference champions play against each other in week 0.
Well, what do we get in the NFL? Typically, we get the Super Bowl champion of the prior year playing a premier matchup in week 1. That's typically what we get. And we get that because they want more eyes early in the season.
I think it's different for college football, though. I think the contrast is week 0 typically has been a giveaway game where we get to play our 4th and 5th string. And that's what Greg Sankey and Tony Petitti are trying to eliminate, because not many people are excited about those games. The stadiums,
bless you, sir.
Excuse me. The stadiums are half empty in the second half. And it makes it very difficult to maximize money. Because, and I know everybody jokes with me, jokes that I say this, hot dog sales make you money. Why do you think everybody's selling beer in their stadiums now? Why do you think Georgia Tech is playing at the Mercedes-Benz Dome instead of on campus? Because they want to make more money. And I think these big matchups, they keep people in their seats longer. They drink more beer. They eat more hot dogs. It makes sense across the board.
Yep.
And the G5, you're going to hate it, and I totally understand
But
it.
again, I think that the G5 has a responsibility to make their own thing. Like, at what point do G5 universities and institutions stop riding the coattails of the power conferences and start making their own system? I mean, that's what has to happen, because if you have your own system, that's better for everybody at that level. That opens up money-making opportunities. Is it the same amount dollar for dollar? No, of course not.
No.
But you could operate at the same percentages, right? Like, you could say, hey, we're a G5 institution, and in our system, we're still trying to accomplish 20% profitability or whatever the number is, right? We're just not playing at 300 million. We're playing at 30 or 10 or whatever. Like, that's like, yes, the G5 will hate this, but at some point you have to embrace the fact that this ain't up to you. Like, it's over. You're out of this. This is not your, like, you're no longer in the sandbox.
The
You're not at the table.
the G5 at some point has to move on.
Yeah.
And I'm very curious. I still believe that Oregon State, and I had a conversation with somebody on Monday night about this. I don't believe that people look at Washington State as a power program. And I don't know how you change that, because I believe that Washington State's a power program, but there is a lack of respect in the industry of television and really across the board in college football. There's a lack of respect for the athletic department at Washington State.
Okay. Well,
And I don't know how you fix that.
Why would someone currently look at Washington State and respect them if you've been following them the last 3-4 years? And I'm not just talking on the football field.
You wouldn't.
I'm talking about, yes, the football field matters, of course, but it's deeper
It's
than
the
that.
boardroom. It's the
boardroom.
business dealings.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
It is nothing to do with success or failure as a, hey, watch us on TV. They have great TV audience. Hey, do we win games? They've won enough games. I think it is malfeasance in administration at Washington State. And that's changing. Obviously, with Kirk Schultz retiring, that's changing. But I really still feel bad, terrible, awful for Oregon State fans.
Yeah.
Because I don't know that there is a path back to the power conferences for Oregon State.
Well, Scott Barnes is going to have to figure that out.
I don't know.
And I think that, Oregon State, and again, not to be repetitive or beat a dead horse here, but this is why you need your own system. You don't, like, Oregon State could sit on top of the G5, or Oregon State could do what Gonzaga has been doing for years. You could sit on top of the G5. You could be the best G5 program. You could get the best talent in that pool and dominate that system.
What's the difference?
I don't know.
Gonzaga can play for a national championship. Oregon State would not be able to.
Unless
they get into a P4.
Or they,
Because you're not going to compete. If you are in a G5, you will never, in my opinion, I just don't think P5 teams have access to the college football, the championship at the highest level of college football.
G5 teams don't.
They do not. They don't. And Boise State fan yesterday getting all salty ass in the comment section. You really think you're going to compete for a national championship? No, you're not. And I love Ashton Ginty. I told you I believe he should be the Heisman Trophy. He should be in New York for the ceremony. You're not competing for a national championship.
Yeah.
And I don't think you fix that. I don't think you fix that. All right, let's get into the comments section. As always, brought to you by our friends at Prize Picks. Prize Picks, America's favorite.
Hello.
Favorite.
Marty.
Faley fantasy app. Just another dominant performance on Prize Picks last night. I don't know. I think it's probably happened at some point. I don't believe I've ever lost on Prize Picks.
Right.
And I went heavy on the New York Yankees last night.
Yeah.
And I would like to thank, and really my pocketbook would like to thank Aaron Judge for actually showing up. He had a demon last night of 2.5 total bases. Okay. And my guy went deep.
We need to talk about, as Antonio Pierce said, business decisions being made by the Cleveland Guardians against the New York Yankees. I know that I didn't see you walk Juan Soto to get to Aaron Judge last night. I know you didn't disrespect Aaron Judge to that level. I could not believe that. And I understand, hey, Yankee Stadium, lefty, okay. But Aaron Judge is still Aaron Judge. I don't care how cold dude has been. Like, you don't do that, man. You do not, under any circumstance, do that. Like, I couldn't believe they did that.
I was a little surprised by that. And it is a little scary that you're looking at the Yankees and you're like, yeah, I'll pitch to Aaron Judge. Well, hopefully that broke him out of it. I would also like to thank Jake's favorite player, Jazz Chisholm, last night. All I needed was half a base.
Yep.
I got one. That's all I needed, which was amazing. And now back to the degenerate portion of the program, because tonight there's WNBA action with the Dilly. And I believe, much like you believe, and we all
you believe?
Yes, I believe. I think we've got to go some WNBA action on the Prize Picks app tonight.
Now, I have to say, after saying that, the NBA being back next week is fire.
Finally.
Got to get the league pass dialed up, bro.
Yeah, we got to talk some Utah Jazz and that top 10 protected pick.
Yeah.
Because a Jazz fan had lost in a bad way on Instagram DMs last night. You're going to be so pissed when we win 50 games this year. No, you're going to be pissed when you lose that top 10 protected pick. Because if you win, and this is what Jazz fan doesn't want to wrap their heads around. I'm way off track. Download the Prize Picks app. Use the promo code Monty, MONTY, Monty. Download the Prize Picks app. You deposit $5, they'll give you 50 more.
Yeah.
On the Prize Picks app. It is the best daily fantasy promotion I've ever seen. Tonight we have got Mets and Dodgers. Let's go Dodgers.
You taking the Great Gambler?
No, I am taking screw you, Shohei. I am taking Francisco Lindor on a demon for 1.5 total bases. I am taking this one. I'm in between. Mookie Betts has a 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs.
Mm-hmm.
But Shohei is his hitter fantasy score is 9.5. And I just don't think you could do that with
I like the Luis Severino demon for 4.5 hits allowed against the Dodgers. I think is a really nice number.
Yeah, I don't know about all that. Here's my problem. Shohei can't hit the outside fastball right now. And it's going to be very interesting to see if he makes the adjustment. Download the Prize Picks app. Use the promo code Monty. You deposit $5. They'll give you 50 more at Prize Picks, the best daily fantasy app in the business. Tens of millions of us are playing Prize Picks. Get on board. Download the app, promo code Monty. Let's get into the comments section. Aaron Wilson gives a Monty Show member.
See, you do this out of the blue. I'm over here trying to make money.
Aaron, hope you're well, my friend. Thank you for being here. Ryan Willie, a member for 5 months. The Super League isn't going to happen.
Bro.
I just disagree with you. I think TV wants it.
Why
desperately.
Is the Super League not going to happen? This is my question for everybody every day on this show. Why? What do you see that tells you the Super League isn't going to happen? Because notice the Ross Dellingers of the world and all the national pundits, they're not saying that anymore. Right? We're not getting red ass national writers saying that the Super League's just never going to happen. And
I can tell you from sources really high up in the food chain and television, ESPN and CBS have both made it very clear they want the Super League to happen.
Yeah.
Because what do ESPN and CBS share? Now they share the NFL. And what what they want, they get. And I would also point out, as I've said 1,000 times, who's one of the leading creative forces behind the Super League? Fox Sports executives are.
Yeah.
What else does Fox Sports have that CBS and ESPN have? Oh, that's right, the NFL. And you're like, well, Marty, we're talking college football. Well, Jimmy, let me explain it to you. They want to build the most profitable weekend in the history of sports television. When you have the Saturday night college football championship, followed by the Sunday night Super Bowl.
Facts.
Huge money, huge TV audiences, and they all get a cut.
Yeah.
Because what is ESPN known for? And I think I hope people recognize this. ESPN is known for their supercasts, which is it's on ABC, it's on ESPN, it's on ESPN.com, it's in your mom's house, it's in your dad's house, it's everywhere. Anywhere you're getting an ESPN or an ABC product, you're getting the national championship, or you're getting the Super Bowl, or you're
And as part of that, we get different feeds and we get a lot of creativity and different commentators and
everybody's going to that model.
Yeah.
Because Fox Sports, while they haven't figured it out, Fox Sports is trying to develop a significant streaming presence. Fox Sports Go has not been great, but CBS HQ is growing and developing, which is CBS Sports HQ is their streaming. They're all in the same business trying to do the same things. And what those people want, they get. And why is that? Because they're the main source of revenue for just about every Power 4 university. So maybe you're right. Maybe the Super League never happens. I don't see a way that happens. And the people I speak to on a regular basis tell me everybody wants it. And ESPN and CBS are two of the main drivers of it.
Yep.
And Fox has been one of the creative voices in trying to figure out what is next in college football. Because there's no doubt we're not staying, and I think most of us would agree with this, we're not staying stagnant in college football. What you're seeing now is not going to be the system in 2 years. The system's going to completely change.